everybody, it's Mauricio here, and today I'm super excited because we've got a really special guest with me today in his own Sea Shack, right? The Sea Shack?
The Sea Shed.
The Sea Shed, excuse me, the Sea Shed.
The Sea Shack is actually kind of a cool name.
Like the Love Shack?
Yeah, exactly. I might switch to the Sea Shack. Sea Shack, baby. All right, anyway, this is already off track.
That's great. No, I love it.
We are terrible.
All right. No, we're going to keep it. This is Brand. If somebody doesn't even know who this is,
yes.
With the beard, it's Beardy Brandon. Brandon Turner, host, Bigger Pockets, Open Door Capital, big time syndicator. Big time syndicator. Super excited because most of the time people hear me talk about the legal stuff and it's like all the mistakes syndicators make, and it's almost, I'm kind of known as the wet blanket. I'm always trying to, it's like thing. So I'm super excited today because we're actually going to talk about some fun stuff, and really wanted to focus on, I know you've done an amazing job of basically scaling your syndication business, right? You went from sort of doing it, maybe not doing it yourself, but you just went from syndicating deals to actually getting to a point where you have a business, right? And I think a lot of, especially my clients, they want to go from just syndicating deals to doing a business, to having a business. So before we do that, talk a little bit about, everybody knows you from Bigger Pockets. I'm always curious about the story about, how did Bigger Pockets happen, and then how did you decide to transition from that to sort of the syndication world?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I started investing on the small deals back in 2007, like about a house, duplex, fourplex, things like that. Ended up with a 24 unit. None of that was syndications. Doing very like on my own, DIY. My wife and I in there. Every tenant has our cell phone. Like it's like that world, right? And it was so much work and so much pain and drama that goes into that world, but it accomplishes the purpose that I wanted. It got me out of my job. So, probably like 2012, quit my job, sat on a couch for a few months, and was like, I'm retired at $3,000 a month. Like that's all you need when you're young. And so I'm like 27 years old, and that's when I joined, so I started writing for Josh Dorkin at Bigger Pockets. So he was by himself, solopreneur, had built this little blog and forum called Bigger Pockets, and it was growing fast. And so I started writing for him, and then I started editing blog posts and just doing whatever I could to get into his world.
Right.
And at one point he was looking for someone to help edit. I started doing that. And then from there I was like, well, why don't we start a podcast? So that's when we started the Bigger Pockets podcast, and that took off. I remember one of our goals was to have be in the top 100 business podcasts within like 3 years, and we hit it the first week and like never left the top 10. Crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So really fast forward a few years, I didn't do a whole lot of work. I was just doing my own small deals here and there, working on a flip occasionally. And then I went to a big real estate syndication kind of conference where I was a speaker there. And I realized I'm on stage and I'm like, man, I'm the least qualified person to be here. Like everybody there was doing these big syndications, and I was like, well, I just bought a house for $100,000 and I spent 6 months fixing it by myself. Like I felt so out of my zone. But I was like, man, I know that I have the potential to be here. And so I said, I'm going to do it. And so I went home and I made a plan and I said, this is where we're going. And that was not even 3 years ago. I think 2 years ago, really, is when we started heavily. And now we're at 3,000 units we just crossed, I think.
That's amazing. And that's Open Door Capital.
That's Open Door Capital.
Your syndication business. So
yes, the syndication business.
Talk a little bit about, so when you started with the small single families primarily?
Yes. Yep.
So when you did the single families, you were DIY. You were doing it all yourself, you and your wife, rolling up your sleeves, doing this thing. Today, you're not doing it yourself.
Correct.
Today, you've actually built a full business. You've got a team. You've got a whole machine that operates. Tell us, what are the steps that it kind of took you to go from that do-it-yourself to having syndication, a real syndication business?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of laid out here just kind of thinking about what we're going to talk about. I laid out like five steps or five
let's go through
things.
them.
So let's go through all five. And the first one's really is like the key here, and the other ones are kind of sub points on that, really. And I even drew a picture of it for those who are watching this. So this is the idea. I put it in a pyramid. It's not like a pyramid scheme, but it is a triangle, we'll call it.
The triad. Yep.
With 4 parts though, so it's a quad triad. All right. So this is the idea. There are like when I think about the difference between this versus every other company I've generally done. Most people in the world, and myself included, start on this very like basic like DIY level, right? DIY the level. And by the way, this is a mindset, not a size of company.
Yes.
You could be any of these 4 levels at any size business, but like I was a DIY investor. I did all my own work. I felt like I was the only one that could do it. I couldn't afford to hire. I liked doing the work. I had all those excuses why I had to be the guy. And my wife and I, the guy and girl. And so
and you're working how many hours at this point?
Like all the time. All the time. Yeah. Like between Bigger Pockets and real estate, it was a full thing, right? Then I had kids, and I'm like, well, something's got to change, right? So I gotta ease off something here.
Right.
But I love bigger pockets. I love doing that stuff. So like I had to figure out what am I going to do next in real estate, and I kept hearing over and over and over people saying this is the bigger deals you get, the less you work. And I thought that was a fascinating concept, and this kind of explains what that is. So DIY level. Eventually, I kind of moved to a manager, what I call a manager or project manager level. It's a mindset in which you don't do everything yourself, but you're like hustling to like outsource to like different random people for little jobs. I call it like the Felon Tim phase of my life, where I knew a guy named Felon Tim who was in and out of jail, and when he wasn't in jail, we would hire him to do painting,
right?
And because he could paint, okay,
right.
But I had to pick him up because he didn't have a driver's license, and like I had to buy his paint, and I had to give him money ahead of time because he couldn't afford to. It was
right.
like it was that guy, right?
Right.
But it got done. But I was involved in every aspect, and this is a key point here: is the reason that I really lived at that level for a long time is because my mentor was at that level. See, we tend to rise to the level of which our mentors are at, and we don't usually eclipse that,
right?
Unless you get around new mentors.
Gold.
Isn't that good?
That's
like,
gold. That's so, absolutely true. It's,
we stick
gold.
there.
Yeah.
And so then, like over time, I got to what I call the next level, which is like the COO level, and I did that with a number of businesses, including for a degree, even though it was never my title, Bigger Pockets to a degree, where I was more of a manager. I manage a team. COOs are they have a corporate culture. There's probably an organizational chart. They have hired employees. It's a business. It's a machine, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it's a machine that you are running. Like you are there,
you're responsible
for, right?
Yeah.
But there's another level on that I call the visionary level. It's the very top of this pyramid. Not everybody ever gets there. And the visionary level is somebody more like, I cast the vision. I have a general idea of where we're headed, but I'm not the one even building the engine.
Right.
Somebody else is actually building the engine, and I'm overseeing it.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting about these 4 levels, as we're talking about them, is that the DIY manager, COO, or visionary level, there's no right or wrong in there. Like some people I know are perfectly happy buying 1 or 2 deals a year, doing all the work themselves. They get so much value out of it. They love doing it, and there's no reason for them to elevate any higher than that. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But the key is you have to understand that each level has a limit, and as long as you're okay with the limit and you're okay with the consequences and rewards from that level, then great, be happy there. Yeah. But I wasn't happy there. I didn't like doing that manager level where I was, and that's when that conference came around and I saw like there's another way, and I started meeting with other visionaries. I got involved with like GoBundance. I got involved with like friends with David Osborne, and David Osborne is a great visionary. He sees that. He wrote a book called Well Can't Wait and a few other, the Miracle Millionaire Miracle. Yep. Anyway, the Miracle Morning series. He wrote that with Hellerad, but he's like very much the visionary. He has the vision, and other people build that empire for him. Yep. And I modeled a lot of what I saw there. I saw Joe Fairless doing it, Grant Cardone doing it. Yep. These guys that were building it. And so here's the truth that I realized is that although it doesn't matter what level, I shouldn't say that. Although each level, there's no like moral right or wrong. The truth is you can choose where to start. You don't have to start at DIY level. And so when I decided one day, I was like, I'm going to build the syndication business. I was like, I'm going to build it from the visionary level from day one.
And that's so unique because I heard that story about you, and I was so impressed with that because I would say 99.9% of the people start at the bottom of the pyramid, and they work there. So that's what I did. I was doing every single client. You do everything, and you work your way up. I love the idea that the way you designed your business was, I'm going to be the visionary, and I'm going to then hire everybody else to come in and fill out pieces. Yeah. And I can attest to that because I rarely talk to you in our day-to-day. When we're doing deals, I'm talking to your COO, your integrator. You're the visionary, and it's only until you have these great events here in Hawaii that I come out to actually spend some time with you. But so that was the vision. And by the way, and I don't want to gloss over the goal that you also said is that thing about you can only reach the limit of your mentors. And it seems like part of that was that event that you went to when you started realizing, and I think that's why these masterminds are so powerful, right? You start getting around, people who are just doing a little bit better than you, or maybe a lot better than you. Yeah. And for others, you're doing better than them. So it's a great way for you to sort of mentor people who are coming up, but also just realize, I'm playing small ball. Right? I could be doing so much more, and so I think that's
exactly why we do these master classes and masterminds out here in Maui. Is one, because I like to do them on the island because it's fun to get people here. Right. But it's really like we get around people. I mean, the first mastermind we did out here, Brian Murray was just an attendee. Yeah. My buddy Brian, and so we started talking about what his goals were and dreams and what he was struggling with and what he wanted. And I'm like, well, this is what I want too. And he's like, well, maybe we should we? Like, you want to? And we ended up partnering together, and like everything we have today is because of that first mastermind, because we were sharpening each each other, like the old quote, like iron sharpens iron. Like we were sharpening each other and making each other better. So Brian became a mentor of mine. So we quickly rose to his level, and then other people. So and the question comes up often, like how do you then elevate? How do you get around the people that can do more? Sometimes you pay for it. Sometimes you go to an event or you go to a conference. You intentionally seek out those opportunities. Sometimes you go and work for it. Like my team right now, we get a ton of interns that want to work for us. Why? Because they understand this concept that they want to start thinking the way you met them earlier. 2 contractors that are here on island right now that came here just to do contracting work for me, because they understand if they can get the mindset that I have, and not that mine's perfect. I got a lot of issues as well. Like I spent half hour setting up cameras today, right? Like for some reason, I do not apply this to my work with cameras and interviews in the sea shack. But you even in your with the bigger pockets, like when you began the story, you got in there by what? By adding value. How do I add value to this person? So I can get closer to them, so I can just do it. And then that led to you, being where you are now. So exactly, you're adding value to Josh's life, and I became his. Like I allowed Josh. See, Josh was a DIY. Right. When I came in, I allowed Josh to elevate. And that's why Bigger Pockets grew, not because of me. A lot of people are like, well, it blew up when Brandon came. No, it blew up because Josh elevated. Right. And he became a manager and then a COO and then a visionary. And it's that climb. But again, there's nothing wrong with any level, but every level has a limit. Yeah. And that's the thing we got to remember is every level has a limit. You cannot build a massive, successful, work 2 hours a week, make millions of dollars business at a DIY level.
And I would say too that a lot. This is my own personal story too. I didn't even know what a visionary was. I didn't realize that was a differentiator between sort of the COO, which now would be, I get to call sort of the integrator, and visionary. And that all came from I'm sure you've read the book Traction by Gina Whitman and Rocket Fuel. That's kind of where it even opened up my eyes. So just knowing that you don't have to be at all those levels. You can literally be the visionary, casting the vision, and then obviously communicating that vision with your team. But let's talk about team too, because I think team's also huge. Maybe we'll go a little out of your order, but
do it. No, that's number 2.
So you come up with this thing. I'm going to start being a visionary. Yep. So the first thing you got to do is I got to build my team. Yeah. Right. How do you go about doing that when, let's face it, you just started. Yeah. You probably don't have a ton of resources. Correct. Yeah. How do you even afford a team? Because that's probably the number one question people ask. Like, I don't have any money. Like, how can I afford? At least they're asking the right question. How can I afford a team? Tell me a little bit about how you went through the team exercise.
Yeah. So a few thoughts on that. One, going back real quick to this visionary COO manager in DIY. Every level also has a cost associated with it. Like, it is a whole lot easier to be a visionary when you are rich. Right. So like, I do have money coming in from book sales and whatever else. So I wasn't broke. Now, does that mean you can't? If you're broke, you can't be a visionary? No, you still can. Right. But it's a whole lot easier for me to take that leap of hiring people, knowing that, okay, well, if I lost $100,000, I'm not bankrupt. It just would suck if I spent a few months and it didn't work. So first of all, understand that, like, I think the best investment is not real estate. It's not stocks. It's people. The best investment is people. Some people say the best investment is yourself. I'm not even sure that's true. I think it's actually people is better than myself, because I don't need to learn how to do something. I need somebody that knows how to how to do it. Right. So I think the best investment is people. So I put a lot of money into people. Now, thankfully, with real estate especially, there's ways to generate money in real estate, like massive amounts of money, and by massive, I mean enough to pay your team. Right. So here's what I did. I laid out from day one. It was actually on my vision, which we'll talk about later. It's one of my points here. I laid out my company org chart. What would it actually need to look like in order to buy what I said I wanted to buy $50 million of real estate in 3 years. That was my goal. We're actually going to hit probably 200 million. I think we'll hit 200 million at the same time frame. So
video goals.
Yeah. I gotta make my goal a little bigger now. But so the idea was we're going to buy $50 million of real estate. I said, what would I need to do that? If I was not a part of it, if I was just visionary, I was like, well, I need somebody that knows how to underwrite deals like really well. I need an underwriter person or team. I would need a person to help me raise the money, somehow to handle investor relations. I don't want to talk to 100 investors. I need somebody who is really good at the financial side, to be able to do all the lawyer, talk to you. And
somebody's got to talk to the freaking lawyer, which is a nightmare, as you know.
Exactly. Yeah, nobody wants to do that. I need somebody who can manage my schedule, my calendar, so an assistant. I would need a COO to oversee the rest of them, or an integrator to oversee each of the departments. And an asset manager. I need an asset manager, somebody to come in and handle the property management, managing the property manager. So I'm like, okay, if I had a rock star asset manager, a rock star investor relations person, a rock star COO, a rock star underwriter, and a rock star assistant, basically, and there's a few other roles maybe I had on the chart as well, but if I had that team, could I buy $50 million of real estate? I think the resounding answer was, of course. I think everyone would say yes. Right. Okay, well, if you buy $50 million of real estate, what does that look like in terms of fees, like acquisition fees and other fees that keep the lights on? Yeah. Well, let's say we're charging 2%. Well, 2% of $50 million is $1 million, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, right? Yeah, so $1 million, right? I do math. Okay, $1 million, if everyone's salary is, let's say on average, 5 people I hired on average $100,000 a piece, that's $500,000 a year. That's 2 years of salary. So in other words, could we buy those $50 million in 2 years roughly, and actually set it for 3, and if so, then it pays for itself.
Right.
So it's a mental block in real estate more than it is. It's a fear-based block, right? Like the deal should pay for it, and if you have the right people, it'll pay for it. In fact, all my team makes more than that generally because we buy so much more. And now everyone's adequately rewarded for that. So yeah, building the team, can you afford it? Yeah, the other option is like Brian Murray, like he doesn't get a salary. Brian's a partner. So that's the other avenue, is you bring in partners who then get equity. Now, there's downsides and upsides of that, right? That Brian's going to be very expensive for me long term. At the same time, I could not have done it without him. So in fact, it was the best investment I could have ever made, was by giving a large chunk of my equity to Brian.
Yeah.
So it's there's different ways to spend it.
And one of my mentors, actually, Beth Clifford, always says, if you hire the best, you hire good people. It shouldn't cost you money. Actually.
Yeah,
it makes you money.
Yeah,
it makes
exactly.
you money. So that's another.
And it's not 12 months. People think, it's $100,000 a year to hire that. No, it's $10,000 a month. Right. Like that's so. Could you handle 3 months, $30,000? It's a lot of money, but it's not going bankrupt money most likely. And secondly, they don't have to, or 30, 50, I don't know what number on. No, but like you don't have to hire everybody at once if you don't want to. If you don't have that resource, like I had the resources where I was like, okay, if I hired everyone and went a whole year and I lost $500,000, that would be, and I didn't buy a single deal for a whole year, like that would suck. But I would not be bankrupt on that case, right? So now, if you don't have that luxury, maybe I'm going to hire one person and an integrator that's going to do everything right now. Now you won't grow as fast as I grew probably, but it's
and it's just I think it's just a question of figuring out which one is that next hire. What's the one, like doing what's the one hire that would just make you everything else easier.
The one ring to rule them all.
What's the next thing, and just take it one by one. So.
Yeah, and for each person that's a little different. I like to look at it this way. I like to say that the hire you should hire is the thing that is either the thing that feels heaviest for you, or the bottleneck for you, or possibly the third thing there, it would be an admin assistant, which goes back to the heavy thing, right? Like what frees you up to go do the things that only you should do. Like the thing that I should be doing is podcasts and webinars and videos, because that is something that it's a rare and valuable skill to be able to do this. And so
that's your unique ability. And we talk about that at our firm too. It's like everybody thinks your job is to do this, or your job is really to take as much of what's on my plate off of my plate so that I can then go do what I'm supposed to go do. And sometimes it's a trickle effect. Sometimes it's to take somebody else's, so that person has more time to take stuff off your plate. So
there's also one aspect to that that's worked really well for us is internships. I love internships. Now we're not like, we even pay most of our interns. I mean, we've always generally paid them, but like, so it's not like we're making people work 80 hours a week for no pay. Like we just bring people in at a very low rate because they want to be a part of what we're doing. And so we bring and we put them what we call run through the gauntlet. Like we make them filter through hundreds of potential people. Now people might be watching this going, well, that's Brandon on the podcast. He can get interns. Like the famous quote, I love this quote, like in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So in other words, like if everyone's blind, if you've got one eye, you're super powerful, right? So you might not feel like you're a super successful, you haven't done 100 million in real estate this year. If you've done any real estate whatsoever, you are above 95% of the population who has not done one.
That's right.
And they look at you, especially in real estate, we are such rock stars to people. Like, ask the average American, do you want to invest in real estate? 98% of them, I bet, would say yes. And so we are a very sexy niche that everybody, celebrities, all the way down to the poorest person in the U.S., they all think real estate's cool. So everybody can attract interns and low dollar per hour people, especially when you're offering them things like equity or potential for equity, things like that.
And don't forget the interns are also getting something out of it. I mean, they're obviously working and giving you their time, but they're you're also mentoring them, and your team's helping them out and showing them the ropes. So even if they don't end up working with you, it's not just the dollars you paid them, or if they're doing it for free, they're actually gaining valuable sort of apprenticeship that's going to serve them in the future.
That's really what it is. I love that word apprentice. Like the apprentice model went away in American society for so long, and I love bringing it back in. It's like they are my apprentice. I'm trained. Like I looked at like Walker for a long time. Like Walker was kind of my apprentice in a way, or more like Ryan was mine and he was Ryan's in a way, kind of filtered through. But like, and still today when I talk to Walker, like my job is to make sure that as a leader, today, my job is to teach my team things like this.
Right.
So I want to make sure my team is aligned and that
Right.
Walker is not DIYing things that he should be COOing things.
Right.
And so like I can help him with that stuff. And so that building a team has been
That's gold.
it's been vital. So next one, brand building.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. Talk about brand building.
So brand is funny. I have a friend that always makes fun of me when I say personal brand, but like what I have is a personal brand.
100%.
Right? It's people. I am a type almost like I'm a personality type that I somewhat carefully and some accidentally crafted, right? Like I literally grew the beard because I wanted to someday either get a TV show or do a syndication.
Yeah.
Like this is like 8 years ago. I was like, I look like every other average tall, lanky white dude.
Right.
Like how do I look a little different?
Yeah.
If I had a beard, I'd stand out. That's part of the. Now, do you don't have to grow facial hair to be a brand? That's just one thing I did, right? And I tie that into Beardy Brandon as the Instagram. I have Behind the Beard the newsletter. I got
you got the coffee. I was gonna say,
Beardy
get
Brew
a plug.
coffee.
Let's get a plug for the coffee here.
Beardy Brew coffee. 100% of profits go to charity. It's a great little funny thing that we do. And honestly, like this isn't designed to this is like shows where my mindset is with branding is. This is not designed to make money. I literally donate all profits. Why do I have a coffee company? It's funny branding. It's great. I can send this to people. It's at the masterclass this week. You're going to get a bag of this. And people take it home and they're like, that's so funny. And they remember me.
Right. It's way better than a business card.
It's way better than a business card. Yeah.
Now, with your issue, I always joke with you. It's like, well, you can't get rid of your beard. You're stuck with that beard forever.
Beardless Brandon. It'll be beardless Brandon. But like, there other people have done it. It's sometimes it's in the name, like Beardy Brandon. Like I have a pretty average, basic, forgettable name, Brandon Turner.
Yeah.
Right. So I chose like, what could I do? There was like, for a while, I was like the real Brandon Turner or real estate Brandon. It was like, I finally came up with Beardy Brandon. Oh, it's catchy. It's kind of got the alliteration, right? There's something that. What you need is in a world of vanilla, you need to be a little chocolate. You need to stand out and be a little bit more unique, right? So brand building is that's a piece of it. It's how you portray yourself. It's
your reputation.
It's your reputation, right? You build that from day one all the time. I mean, you obviously have a brand that like a lot of syndicators like you for a reason. Yeah. And you're not like, beardless Mauricio, but like
I was like the anti-lawyer. I'm not your typical lawyer, and I'm kind of the anti-lawyer. I'm kind of the if you didn't know I was a lawyer, you wouldn't think I was a lawyer. I'm not the sort of thing. But no, it's all about the brand. It's so critical, and I think everybody, whether they realize it or not, has a brand. Yeah. It just may be a vanilla, it's just like, well, I don't need a brand. You have a brand. You just it's just like when people say I don't have any style. I'm not into fashion. It's like, no, you are. You've made a conscious choice to wear a certain thing, and so
very much so. Yeah, you are demonstrating something all the time, and then that goes on social media.
That's what I was going to say next, and especially in today's world of social media and podcasting. I mean, a personal brand. I know that's been huge for me, and obviously huge for you. So
I think branding also, like, one thing for people to consider is I like to think of branding as like in the beginning, if you're trying to figure out like what to focus on, and this is any business, not just real estate, but you really want to be like the cross piece of a couple niches. Like just being like Brandon's a real estate guy, that's pretty broad.
Right.
Brandon's a real estate guy who does mobile home parks. All of a sudden that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
So you could be like, hey, I'm a bakery. Okay, that's great. I'm a bakery that specializes in like dramatically crazy cupcakes, right? All of a sudden now you're a unique niche. Like you're, that's the crazy cupcake lady, right? So being that cross point, getting more niche down. You can even do a three-way cross, but I think it's now I'm the the Jewish baker who does the cupcakes. Like now all of a sudden like you're too niche, right?
Right.
But there's a niche, and again it goes to like if I was like, hey, I'm a lawyer and I can help you. Great, there's a million of them.
Right.
I'm a lawyer who does securities for SEC for syndicators.
Right.
We're like, of course, I'm going to work with you.
Right.
People crave that thing. So the personal brand. So today, and again, I had somebody say this to me. They said the reason they invested in my fund is because of the way I talk about my wife online. What a fascinating concept, right?
Wow, that's interesting.
Because me being a family man is part of my brand.
Absolutely, 100%.
I don't shy away from it. I put things out there. I call it intentional authenticity.
Yep.
You're intentional about being authentic, or authentic about being intentional.
And you have no idea how you're going to connect with people.
You don't.
I'm a big wine guy, and so sometimes I'll make posts about wine and whatever, and then I'll
love Saturday night.
Yeah, I love Saturday night. I get responses from people that I don't see that I don't even think they're looking at my stuff. Sometimes they'll come out of the woodwork because they like wine.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, whatever. But you got to be authentic. It's got to be something you really like. So that's
and people need something to grab. I love that you said you're the wine guy because you're like wine a lot. Like people need almost like. things to grab onto. This is why like the burr strategy became such a big popular phrase, because they all of a sudden took a concept that everyone does and put like something they could grasp. House hacking, they can grasp it. So we call ourselves a cash growth fund. We buy cash flowing assets that also we can force appreciation. It's a cash growth. We made the word up. It just means what we made it to mean, right? But all of a sudden people can wrap their head around it. It's like, oh yeah, we invest in their cash growth fund. So it's they need that thing to grasp. So I like the idea. Like I could see like you playing off that idea of wine more. Like just like I have coffee. What if you sent people wine? Or
and I don't do enough of it. But I mean, and just because I get lazy sometimes. But but I mean, I drink wine all the time. I go to the wine. I spend way too much money on wine because I used to collect wine. So I'm like a wine. I really love not only.
I love that about you.
And it's cool. Like you get to share with the people you love, and it's just I just love wine. And so at first I didn't want to post about it, and then I started posting, and people come out of the woodwork. So
you never know who's gonna love that stuff.
And there's a couple friends of mine that I know are coffee guys because they post about coffee. Now I'm going to add you to my list there.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So brand building, and again, this goes back to the concept of digging your well before you're thirsty. Like you might be a syndicator, you might want to build that big syndication business 5 years from now. Start the brand now. Again, it doesn't have to be a fancy name, but branding is anything, like what you talk about, how you portray yourself, even down if you want to get crazy, like the colors, the fonts that you use, the way you post on Instagram or on social media. You don't even have an Instagram, get an Instagram, get a YouTube, get some, and you don't have to have all of them. Just pick something you can be good at. And I chose Instagram. I like Instagram. Some people love TikTok. They're building their brand there. Some people like LinkedIn. Like Brian Murray, huge LinkedIn guy. He's got thousands of followers there. I don't even know my LinkedIn password. I haven't logged in 12 years. I don't know. It's different things for different people. So that's number 3 is the brand building. Let's go to number 4.
Okay.
I mentioned this earlier about the vision. I call the vision. The book, it's called Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold, was a big impact on me. The idea being, rather than a mission statement or we're going to buy this many properties, it's how can you paint a picture or creatively exude where your business is 3 to 5 years in the future. This is a part of EOS or Attraction is similar. They have the 7-year goal or picture. A 3-year picture, and they get a 7-year goal vision. I don't know what that thing is.
I think it's 10. I think it's 1, 3, and 10.
1 through 10,
which is a long way.
But that's all about vision, right? So vivid vision, talking about having a very vivid look at it, almost to the almost laughably vivid. And so I did that. So people can't really see it, but behind you on the wall is a 4-foot by 3-foot poster, like acrylic, like glass poster, that's titled "The $50 Million Surfers: How a Small Team of Adventure Seekers Built a Real Estate Empire, Helped Millions Achieve Financial Independence, and Kept Their Humanity Intact." And it's a newspaper article written 3 years in the future. Well, from when I wrote it.
Right.
So December 31st, 2021, Maui, Hawaii. Open Door Capital is a Maui-based real estate firm unlike any you've ever seen. And it just goes through how many units we have, how many properties, how many investors we have, and how we give back, how we travel, how we work. At the bottom, I don't have it on the actual poster, but I had my org chart actually on the original one as well. And I did that before we bought a single property.
Right.
And we have fulfilled almost every part of that, because now when we make decisions going forward, we're like, well, does it fit with the vision? Like, is it going to get us closer to the vision? And my new one now, I think we can pop up on the screen, but it's a magazine. I'm going to actually put together.
I love it. I saw it. It was great.
Yeah, I got the cover done. I've got like a couple pages inside done, but it's going to be I have a magazine that's really nicely designed of like, this is what our company has. We have now 3 years from now, we have 16,000 units. We've got $500 million in assets under management. Here's our core values. Here's how we do syndication. And it's going to be a magazine. So it doesn't matter how you do it. Some people do a workbook. Some people do a poster, a magazine. It's just being very clear on where we're headed. If you were Jack Welch, the CEO, big guy of GE, right? He has this great quote. I'm going to butcher it, but he basically says that he believes like that a great visionary should be able to go into any of his like 30,000 employees or whatever it is, houses at 3 a.m, shake them and say, where is this company going? And they should be able to say, we're going to this. And they should be able to name the vision and the mission right there.
Right.
In their sleep, because they hear it so much.
Right.
So if you were to ask my team where we were headed, in 3 a.m, shake them, $50 million of real estate in 3 years. Right. And then we got 200 million. Right. Like, and now today they're all like, we shake them like, we're going to have 16,000 units once I get this more out. So,
right.
Vision, huge.
It's huge. And communicating that vision, I think, is also because that's one of the things. I mean, I love to do the vision and writing down, put it in something, but then communicating that so that every single person on your team knows exactly what direction you're going, what exactly we're doing, so that they know where what their role in the company is, how it relates to the bigger the thing. So
yeah, it really is. It trickles down, right? So you have like everyone has their company vision, but then do all your people know where they fit within that vision?
Right.
And then when they do, and they're doing what feels light to them, that's one thing we didn't talk about earlier. But like when you're building a team, all those people who are rock stars, like the task they do feels light to them. So like Walker when he's like COOing, or when Jay is underwriting, or when Brian is mentoring and asset managing, and like these are roles that each of these people are good at because it feels light to them. Not easy, but light.
Right.
To me, this is super light. I like I can do this all day long, right? Light.
Right.
Most people would say this is probably pretty hard to go talk in front of people and just record like whatever. Super light to me, so that's what I should be doing.
Right.
So yeah, it goes down to like making sure all your people are aligned in the vision and in what they're doing, and that they feel connected to where we're headed. It's just it's a powerful thing.
Love it. Love it.
Cool.
All right.
Last point.
Last one, number 5.
Number 5, and that is we are very, very systems focused, right? Very, and you mentioned EOS earlier.
Yeah.
We do EOS, so we run everything through Traction. We even have a consultant that works with us every quarter. We meet with them. We do a 2-day or 1-day session with them. We are so strict on the system. So to the point of like we have goals. Like for example, we make 75 offers a quarter. That's our goal. And that number changes based on what our goal was, because we know we get about 1 in 10 offers accepted.
Right.
And this is why I teach at Bigger Pockets all the time to newbies. I'm like, look, if you want to get your first duplex, go make a dozen offers or 2 dozen offers. You'll get something accepted.
Right.
As long as you're always trying to improve and stuff. So we take the same philosophy. We have goals set for every person in the company that align to the company goal for the quarter and the year and the 3 or 5, 7-year vision.
Right.
It's all lined up together, and it's all run through EOS. And the reason this is so powerful is because I hate managing. It sucks, right?
Yeah.
When your employee sucks and they do something you shouldn't do.
Yep.
Hey, man, listen, we got to talk about your performance. Because of EOS, I don't manage anybody. Walker doesn't even manage anybody.
Right.
The system manages everyone.
So-
When we implemented EOS, my work shifted from about 20 hours a week at Open Door Capital to 5.
Wow.
And today it's even lower than that probably.
Yeah.
And most of my time today is spent mentoring and leading. And then there's like the final checks, looking over the property, make sure but they never do anything stupid. They're smarter than me, right? Like everybody on the team is smarter at what they do than me by far. And so like, my job is to kind of like I'm one responsible for everything, and so I look everything over to make sure it has a stamp of approval. But like, man, they just run with things because they're good at it.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
EOS.
I love EOS. I'm implementing ourselves. If you guys have not heard of EOS, I highly recommend the book Traction by Gino Wickman.
Yeah.
A lot of people that you and I respect use EOS, and there it is. Yeah,
There it is right there.
Look at that.
Look at that, even in my office.
All right, my friend. Well, I think, look, thanks so much. I think you've delivered a ton of value for everyone here. So hopefully that thing, tell people tell what you're up to right now, how people can find you.
I'm at Beardy Brandon on Instagram, so you can connect with me there. If you're a TikTok person, you can check me out there as well. Beardy Brandon, I don't post a lot there, but it goes there. And Open Door Capital's website is odcfund.com.
Nice. Well, thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. And looking forward to this week's masterclass.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for coming.
All right, buddy.